Alright, it's ready to ride, ready to test. I made these two videos just to show the guys that want to do this how to do it, but the other video is gonna have the test results and everything like that. So yeah, watch the other videos and you see if this thing made a difference. Jack the bike up in the back and take the rear wheel off. You could actually take this rear gear off and leave the rear wheel attached, but it'd be a pain in the ass. So we'll leave the hub attached, but just take the rear wheel off. And leave that hub on there. I normally take this brake off, unthread this, slide the cable out so it's not staying together, but I'm going to try to do it leaving this on and see what happens. It might be a quicker method. This is your rear end gear oil drain right here, the one sticking down. These others all around it all hold the gearbox on. They're all 10 millimeters, but how you tell which one is the fill one is it's got a washer on it, like a crush washer to seal it, and that's your oil fill. And then your oil drain also has a little crush washer on it. You could split this case and not even take this off, but I'm gonna go ahead and drain it now. Just make sure you get that washer off with it so you don't lose it later. Even if you don't take that drain off to drain it and you're just gonna crack it and let it drain, go ahead and take the fill one off. Taking this off now will prevent you from putting this back together and forgetting to put oil in here. And it happens. To not run a dry gearbox, if you take this off, you'll see it laying with your parts and you'll be like, oh, I got bad oil. Take the CVT cover off. So there's all these 10 millimeters that have to come off that hold this gear case on. There's a couple behind this clutch, maybe 3, but we have to take this clutch off. That's a 14. To get the clutch off, we need to get this down inside here as far as possible. So take your belt, squish it together hard as you can. You should be able to pull this right off the shaft, like that. Just let it hang right down there. You can see it exposed these 3 more 10 millimeters we have to take off. These 10 millimeter bolts are all the same size, except for one of them. And that one, I think, is this one here. And the reason I say I think is because I've had this thing apart before, and I didn't realize there was one off-size bolt in there. So it seemed like the right place. So if I got that in the wrong place, let me know. But I'm pretty sure it's this one. See, this one's a little bit longer than the other ones, just like the next size up. When you get all the bolts off, you'll probably have to knock this loose with a rubber mallet or a nylon hammer. But mine should come loose since I just had it off. I've never been able to salvage a gasket on a 150. The gasket's on the inside, it comes off this way. This gasket looks like it's gonna work fine over and over. It's got the little orange stripe in it. So I'm gonna try to remove this with the brake cable installed. And it looks like it's gonna work fine. And there's that gasket. Just don't tear that on the gears when you take it off. Just lay it down like this. In here we've got the gear set. So here's the input from the clutch, 15 tooth, then our 52 tooth stock, our 14 tooth stock, and I forget what this one is now, but that's the one we're changing. This one goes on this axle. We're not gonna load it in like this. This is how it just happened to stay. We're gonna put it on this side and then load it on. So let's take these off. This one just slides right straight out, and when you do, you're gonna lose this one here. Now there's a nylon washer on this, on the back side of this one. Don't lose that. So that would go like this. And this big one would go on top of there, like this. That's how it should come off, but it may come off like it did on mine and all stay attached to here. So if it looks like this when you take it off, just pull your big one off. That'll slide right off. That's a 52 tooth. Then your little one will come out. The gear set I got was pre-pressed. If you have a press and want to press your own gear, then you really don't need me to show you how to do that. You'll know how to do it. So I'm not going to go into that. But they do sell a kit where you don't get this stock 52 teeth. You just get this, and you have to press this into your stock 52 tooth ring. I went ahead and counted these just to make sure I got what I paid for. And the 52 tooth stock, that's what we wanted, $17.49. That's what I wanted. It turned out to be a Glixel brand. So yeah, the quality's, I don't even know if it's Chinese quality. It might be less, but we'll see if it works. Load the new gears in. That little washer off this one, let's take that off and put it on the new one. We'll load that in right here. That first hole is where the clutch shaft goes into. Then your big gear goes over top of it, and it should mesh with it, and it does. That looks normal. You spin the wheel, no binding or anything weird, so the gears actually fit. Now we're going to take this and slide it back on to the swing arm. You have two dowel pins. There's one here and there's one here. And this one's missing, obviously, so you want to make sure it's in the other side. And the dowel pin is here, so we're good to go there. I'm just going to reuse that gasket. I don't think it matters if there's oil on it. It should work well wet. Line up your dowel pins and your bearings should line up. That was easy. Before you can start putting bolts in it, I'm going to double check that it works. Yep, there. I spin the clutch. I spin the clutch, this spins. Don't throw away your original gears, because this mod's probably going to slow us down and we're going to go back to the original gears. That's my prediction anyway. I'm just doing this in the name of science. Put all our bolts back in and make sure I get that long one I marked on the long one. And there it is, that one right there. Just kind of get them snug, then we'll do the crisscross tightening pattern. You don't want to just tighten one side all at once. These bolts right here we put in, even though they take a 10 millimeter, they're actually 8 millimeter bolts and they're called M8s. So in universal language, the correct torque for those is 20 to 30 Newton meters. But the book actually specifies these to all be tightened to 20 to 22 Newton meters. So we'll go with 21 Newton meters. 21 Newton meters is darn tight. That's tighter than your head bolts. I just put them on by feel before when I changed this, and it leaked. Actually leaked on the floor there, so I didn't have them tight enough. So I'm going to go with the torque wrench. It's going to be tighter than you think at 21 Newton meters. So 15 foot-pounds, that's quite a bit. 185 inch-pounds. I'm going to tighten them to what I think they should be. Pretty darn firm. And I've got them all this tight, so I would think it was good to go. We're going to see how it looks on the torque wrench. Oh, that one moves quite a bit. Look at that. So I didn't have that one tight enough. Or that one. Yeah, so make these things really tight if you don't want to use a torque wrench. Yeah, that was another 1/8 turn shy. Make them tighter than you think. Replace your drain plug if you took it off. And to fill the oil, we have to get this thing back level, get the tire on. That's why I take that out, because by the time I do all that, I might forget to put oil in it. The clutch back on. Somehow your belt will be shorter when you go to put it back on than it was when you took it off. But you can stretch it. Slide her in there. That all spins freely. You'll see 60 to 80 foot-pounds on stuff. That's this big nut right here holding your hub on. That's a lot of foot-pounds. I actually use an air compressor and an impact for that. I don't use this little tool. I get that tight as I can. These do come off. There's some confusion because the lug nuts are 10 millimeter by 125. If they're grade 8, which is metric 10.9, they get 80 Newton meters of torque. So not 80 foot-pounds. That would break it. So 80 Newton meters is 59 foot-pounds, significantly less than 80 foot-pounds. But these studs might only be grade 8.8. And manufacturers of cars can get away with using grade 5 or grade 8.8 metric on their wheel studs, depending on how many they have. I'm seeing this has 4 of them. They could be grade 8.8 metric. And if they're 8.8, the recommended torque is 57 Newton meters. And that would only be 42 foot-pounds. So yeah, these should be about 40 foot-pounds. This one should be between 60 and 80. Personally, I just use the German torque of Gutentite. Let's get this down off the jack and put some oil in it. I guess I don't understand the difference in a manual transmission and a rear end, because I've used really good, not this one, but manual transmission fluid for like a 2-stroke dirt bike that has a different transmission oil than engine oil. This gearbox overheated. The oil bubbled out of the overflow tube, so we don't want to use that. You want to use rear end gear oil, but this says trans and diff lube. So 80-90 gear oil is what I've been using, and it's been working pretty good. The Maddog manual I have doesn't address how much gear oil to put in here. QMB 139 book says 110 milliliters. So that'd be the same as 110 cc's. I'm not going to try to measure it and put it in there. The universal standard on gear oils or differentials is just you pour it in till it pours out. Wherever the fill hole is a fill line. That's why gearbox oils always have this pointy tip on it, so you can stick it in there sideways and squish the oil in there. I'm just going to do that. I'll leave it on the kickstand and squish some oil in there until it runs out. Then I level the bike and fine tune it. And if you got too much oil, you can push the air out of these oil tubes, stick them back in there and suck some of that oil back in your container. Hold the bike level, you'll see it quits dripping. I'll take it a little past level. Definitely got oil coming out of there. And then as I lean it over towards me, the oil starts coming out. That's perfect. I'm going to plug it. Make sure you have your sealing washer on this one also. Be sure you get your case really clean before you ride it so you know for sure if you have an oil leak. If your case is not clean, you might mistake some of the old oil with an oil leak. We replace our CVT cover, and it should slide on there real easy. If it doesn't, something's not lined up right. You really shouldn't have to force anything. There it goes. So I was trying to put it on. The little starter gear was hanging down and not engaging with this hole right here. You're going to use one of these drill guns like I do, these impact guns. Always finger start your bolts. This is how guys always strip out their aluminum. That gun will force these things cross-threaded into it. I'll make two different videos. I'll make another one showing how to determine what gear kit you need, how to determine what gearing you have, things like that, and then the results of the gearing kit, if it's an improvement or not.